It's my pleasure to introduce Ms. Saloni Sachdeva Michael, Energy Analyst at IEEFA. She is an energy and finance consultant at IEEFA, specializing in advancing India's clean energy transition through policy, technology, and financial strategies. She has collaborated with national and state level organizations, energy departments, distribution companies. She holds a master's degree in renewable energy engineering and management from TERI School of Advanced Studies and has an electrical engineering background. She has over 7 years of experience in an sector and has worked with SSEF to promote renewable energy and energy access in India. Ms. Saloni will present a talk on the vision for a greener and secure future. So let's welcome Ms. Saloni.
With the recent G20 presidency, we have seen that India has now come out as a global leader. Our economy is growing at a remarkable pace. We have moved from 13th to a fifth largest economy globally. And all of this can also be seen linkages with India's commitment in terms of finance for green energy transition. This year's budget 2023-24 also had an outlay of INR 350 billion for the green energy transition. It's still a debate if that kind of money is enough or not, but it's definitely, as Mr. Sharma mentioned, it's a step in the right direction, and we would need that kind of capital influx for the growth. So I will now try to restrict my conversation focusing on the two words in the topic. That first is green and second is secure. So in terms of green, the idea is to accelerate the transition through better deployment of renewable energy, and it is the key pillar to achieving our future. And hence we have these massive targets of 500 gigawatts. And as alluded earlier, we are the third largest consumers of electricity. We are the third largest renewable energy producer. And at present, 42% of our energy capacity is coming from renewable energy. And a caveat here being that I am including small hydro and large hydro in this. I think the numbers Mr. Mehta were quoting was just solar and wind. So if we include large and small hydro, we have reached 42% of the energy capacity. With the total installed capacity as per CA numbers standing at 425 gigawatt as of September 2023. And as Mr. Mehta said, that the road from reaching 178 to 500 gigawatt, this will need us to address a lot of issues related to how this intermittent renewable energy will be integrated well with the grid. So we need to talk about energy storage and grid integration, how flexibility solutions need to be incorporated for better grid integration. And I'll not repeat what he has already alluded to, but we have existing tools and systems around grid interconnectivity, demand side management solutions, better market mechanisms. So not just focusing on long-term PPAs, but to short-term markets in terms of term ahead market, green development, green day ahead markets, and now also around the clock power. So we have these green market mechanisms that could help us have much more efficient integration and give the much needed pathway to the discoms. I think in terms of the green energy transition, a key area that needs discussion is the power sector reforms. And as we all know, discom is the backbone of country's economy, and the poor financial health of discom is a topic that has been debated upon in depth, and it has had rippling effects on functioning of all the aspects of the power sector, be it generation, transmission, and distribution. And considering that the government has taken out a lot of bailout packages to help the discoms, but often we have seen very limited impact of these bailout packages, because the issues related to the discoms are very deep-rooted in terms of inefficient tariff settings, delay in subsidy reimbursements, lower billing and collection efficiencies, and also poorly targeted subsidies. So the bailout packages need to be much more refined. And I think more than that, we need to instill financial disciplines in the discoms. And I think the recent amendment to the Electricity Act 2023, the recent regulations by CERC are a step forward to instilling financial discipline in terms of better reporting guidelines, better accounting in terms of discom financing, strengthening the discom demand projection. So all of these interventions are again a right step, but actual implementation is something where the key success lies. Another area that I would like to acknowledge and applaud is around the time of day tariffs. And Mr. Mehta mentioned about the challenges around peak power or non-solar peak hours, but the recent announcement around uh, implementing time of day tariffs for CNI consumer that will start from 2024, I think it's a great step, and it will ease the strain on the grid during peak hours, because it will give the flexibility of shifting the power demand from the evening hours, that is the peak hours, to the daytime hours. And those are the hours where the solar power is available. So these demand side management and time of day interventions can help us achieve the targets that we are wanting to achieve, and tap into solar energy and wind energy that are intermittent in nature. To finish my discussion on the greener aspect, I think I cannot do that by not talking about electric vehicles or green hydrogen or the industry side of things, the hard to abate sectors. So having massive electrified public transportation fleet has been a target. We want to increase the share of electric vehicle sales, 30% for private cars, 70% for commercial vehicles, 40% for buses, and a huge chunk of 80% for two-wheelers and three-wheelers by 2030. And in absolute terms, all of these totals to an 80 million EVs on road by 2030. So for implementing this amount of massive targets, a key area of success lies on how well the EV charging infrastructure is laid, and from where the sourcing of the EV charging infrastructure is coming in the next decade. Is it still dependent upon the grid power, which is thermal, or we are using renewable energy resources to charge these grid infrastructures? The charging infrastructure is another topic. On green hydrogen and electrolyzer issues, I think a lot has been talked about. So I'll skip mentioning that, just maybe mentioning that as per the green hydrogen policy, we have a target of producing 5 million metric tons per annum by 2030. And I think a good positive impact has been that states have come in front and taken initiatives, come up with policies for developing green hydrogen hubs. Like I feel states like Gujarat, Rajasthan, and if I'm not forgetting, UP and Tamil Nadu were also part of the list who came up with green hydrogen hub policy. So I think that entire intervention of states taking the initiative and coming up with these policies is a great achievement after the national push around green hydrogen. Another area that we often miss talking about is the industries. And if you look at the data, industry is the second highest contribution of the GHG emissions after the energy sector. And within the industry sector, if you look at the steel industry, it accounts for around 12% of India's total carbon emissions, which is a huge number. So a lot needs to be done, especially considering that we have these Paris climate agreement commitments of reducing the emission intensity by GDP of 33 to 35% by 2030, representing the 2005 levels. So a lot needs to be done to ensure decarbonization of the industry sector. This can be done by deploying energy efficiency interventions, adopting more cleaner production processes, and promoting circular economy strategies that I already alluded about. And it's not that nothing is happening. Steps are being taken to incentivize the decarbonization, especially around policies like a steel scrap recycling policy, which came out in 2019, and the PAT scheme that was released back in 2013-12, which was a great incentive for the players to come up and set their baseline emissions, reduce their emissions. And now the carbon trading scheme that has been announced by the Ministry of Power and BEE. So a lot is happening on ground, and a lot more can happen that we already have discussed. So to finish my green component discussions, I think the green transition will be an immense opportunity for us to work, until and unless we also focus on the security part of things. That is the second component I will quickly allude in the next 1 minute. And I think I've talked about why resilience and diversification of the renewable energy supply chain is crucial, especially alluding to the global disruptions around supply chain. And The Ministry of Mines already came up with the critical mineral mine list and also amendment to the Mines and Mineral Development Regulation, which is the MMDR regulation that now allows private investment coming into the mining sector, which is a big development in terms of the mining industry. And the reason we are now talking about all of this is because a number of studies allude how the need of these critical minerals will increase tremendously. A World Bank study estimated that the demand of lithium and cobalt is expected to increase by 500% by 2050. So imagine the kind of raw material quantum we will require in the coming few years. And the challenge there is the dependency on China. So at present, 65% of the rare earth metals come from China. 70% of the cobalt is mined in Congo, which again is the mines are owned by China. Around 65% of lithium is coming just from Australia. So how do we diversify these raw materials is another challenge. And globally, there's a strategy that has been discussed, which is called the China Plus One strategy, where countries like Australia and Indonesia are now trying to come up with they have strong mining capabilities and they're sitting on large deposits of critical minerals, but they're now also wanting to set up refining and processing technologies within their countries to give competition to China. So that's the China Plus One strategy that is globally being debated upon. But I feel the narrative for India will be very different because we are not wanting to act as an export hub. That is not the aim. We are focusing on reducing dependency on imports and self-sufficiency. So our strategy will depend upon how well we utilize our in-house potential of critical minerals, how well we set up the technologies of refining and processing in India, how well we strengthen our existing trade agreements with countries like Australia, Chile, and Argentina, and how well these bilateral arrangements are settled down. So I think security in terms of these supply chain is also a crucial aspect, and then combined with the green aspect of it. So all of these challenges and opportunities will have to be considered.
Thank you, Ms. Saloni, for an excellent talk on the vision for a greener and secure future.